Now, my dear friends, the reading of the Torah this week will be the Sedra of Chayei, and this is in the Chumash of Bereshis in Genesis. It begins chapter 23, sentence 1, to chapter 25, sentence 18. The Haftorah will be in Melachim Aleph in Kings 1, chapter 1, where we read how King David appoints his son Shlomo, or Shlomo, to become king of the Jewish people after him. Now the essence of the Sedra, of the portion of the week. This Sedra is called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. Although it deals with the death of Sarah, yet the name of the Sedra is the life of Sarah. What does this mean? The Jew believes in the eternity of the life of the soul after death, and therefore the Sedra, this portion of the week, is called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, to emphasize this, that not through death did the spirit that one possesses cease to exist, but this Sedra is called Chayei Sarah because it implies the continuing life of Sarah in the world of eternity. And this is a basic foundation in Jewish faith. The second reason that it is called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, is that a true recognition of the real life of a person is apparent after death, when all the outward appearances that mean so much in life disappear. It is then that the qualities of a person begin to take on their true meaning, their true color. It is then that we see what the actual life was. This is the purpose of a eulogy, to mention the true accomplishments of a person on earth, which come to their realization at the moment of departure more than ever before in life, because before life is camouflaged by the different outward appearances. For somehow, after death, it means very little in what modernly wealthy, furnished house a person lived, and whether the wedding that he made for his daughter costed him $25,000 or it costed $500. It makes little difference whether the person took an annual sea cruise and a winter vacation or stayed at home. It makes very little difference whether mink coats were the attire of the family, or whether wine came with every meal, or did the food consist just of the staples of life. Life takes on a new meaning after death, because here we find the true interpretation of the life as it really was. And therefore, after the departure of Sarah, the Torah calls the Sedra Chayei Sarah, because it was then that the genuine, true meaning of the life of Sarah came to its realization in the eyes of the people. We find, as the Torah goes on to tell us of the life of Sarah, the Torah quotes, and I state, or the Torah states, and I quote, and the life of Sarah was 100 years, and 20 years, and 7 years. And the Torah emphasizes the word year after each group, 100, 20, and 7. And the Torah did not include them all to say 127 years, but 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. And our great rabbis have interpreted this to mean that each and every period in her life was a period that she lived. Many times in life we begin to live, but somehow in the course of life we lose track of the things that are important. And when we reach the old age, it's not a matter of living then, but we seem to live in the past. We remember what we accomplished once, and we sort of enjoy the proceeds of our efforts. The life of the true great people, the truly great people, is not to live in the past, but to make each and every day count. And this the Torah tells us, that the life of Sarah, whether she lived 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, the life of a child of 7 years is a life in which each and every moment counts, vibrant and full of overflowing enthusiasm. A life of 20 is also an energetic period of time. But the period of 100, that's the time for rest. And the Torah says, no, this was not the true life of Sarah. The true life of Sarah was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. In each and every category of time, she lived each and every moment. A life of this type is to be envied. We do not live for tomorrow. We do not live for the yesterday. We make each and every moment count. And this is the true Chayei Sarah, the true life of Sarah. And as we go on through the Sedra, we find that the Torah speaks about Abraham's efforts and success in purchasing the Me'oras HaMachpelah, the cave that had the dual building, one on top and one on bottom, in which the ancestors of our people, the patriarchs, were buried. And this became an everlasting memorial burial place. And today when people come to Israel, they come to Hebron, and there they offer prayer at the Me'oras HaMachpelah, the burial place of Adam and Chava, Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah. As the Torah goes on, we read how Abraham sends Eliezer, his servant, to obtain a wife for Yitzchak. And the Torah tells us that Abraham says to him, and I quote, Lo sikach isha livni, you shall not take a wife for my son, mibenos haknaani, from the daughters of the Knaani, asher anochi yoshev bikirbo, that I dwell amongst him. But you shall travel el beis avi, to the house of my father, the el mishpachti, and to my family. V'lokachta isha livni, and you shall take a wife for my son. In these words, the Torah mentions also something that may be applicable to us today. When people wish to marry, they say to themselves, it does not make a difference who the person is, as long as they are tolerant. This is not sufficient. This is not that which is required in order to have a happy life together. There are people who have justified intermarriage by saying, well, we tolerate each other and belief is no problem. And Abraham says, Eliezer, my servant, as you go forward and you will have the question of choosing a wife, you will say that the Knaani are fine people. Asher anochi yoshev bikirbo. I continue to dwell amongst them. I am a good neighbor. I help them in time of need, and they reciprocate as well. What else is there necessary in order to make life happy? And therefore maybe I should permit intermarriage. And Abraham says, do not do this. I may live amongst them. I may be a wonderful neighbor, but a good neighbor does not constitute a proper marriage. If you want to marry the proper person, where your future will be assured in understanding and in peace and in harmony, you must go to the family. You must look to the family. And when you will come to this family tree, and you will realize and recognize that the fruit does reflect the essence of the tree, you will take a wife for my son from the family tree, and not on the basis of good neighborhood policy one with another. The Torah goes on and tells us how Eliezer came and he made a test that the girl who would act in great kindness would show that she is worthy of being a member of the household of Abraham. And he said, as he stood near the well, the damsel to whom I would say, put down thy pitcher, and I may drink, and she will say, drink, and I will give thy camels to drink also, this one God had appointed for his servant Yitzchak. Nothing that the girl possessed was of a great treasure as that which expresses a heart, a good heart, a heart that throbbed and throbs with sympathy for mankind and for dumb and helpless animals as yet, and that indeed was all for which he was looking, because a good heart is a contented heart. It harbors no jealousy and has therefore room for genuine friendship, total devotion, and with a sincere and meaningful expression of love. A good heart is a true indicator of a person's character, and this was the quality that Eliezer in his time searched for, and this is even up to today the most important thing in the qualities of the companion that one seeks in life. Her spontaneous kindness of heart that she manifested showed her fitness to become the mother of the Jewish nation. And my dear friends, we also read in the Torah how Abraham, when he reached the end of his days, which was 175 years, the Torah says that that was the time when Abraham came to the end of his life. And at that moment the Torah says, and I quote, Vayigva, and he expired Vayomas Avraham B'Seva Tova, and Avraham died in an good old age, Zokein V'Savea. He was old and contented by Yosef el Amov, and he was united with his people. The greatest blessing that Avraham had was the fact that he was old and contented. People on earth who become old are irritable, they are angry, they are rebellious, they are regretful. Abraham had this great schutz and quality, that the older he became, the more contented he was, because he had nothing that he had to regret in life. He had done his duty, he had accomplished his purpose on earth, and as he grew older, he became more and more contented. And this, my dear friends, is one of the greatest qualities and blessings of old age. The Torah also finishes with the story of Yishmael, who also departed, repented before his death, and was worthy to become united with his people. And so the Torah of Chayei indicates to us a manner of life that each and every one of us should try to apply in a manner that would teach us that life that we live should not be in vain.